I was listening to Father Brendan Kilcoyne's video that he released early this week. I listened to every single thing that he has published on Immaculata Productions, and I generally like his stuff, and I have no criticism really. Except this week I was listening through his video, and I was even thinking to myself, should I even do this episode, what I'm going to discuss here? Should I even put this out, or should I just let it pass? But I thought there was something in this episode that really caught me. So I'm going to link what he said here because I want to discuss something. And I'm going to put a link to the full episode from Immaculata Productions. I do encourage you to subscribe, to challenge them, to comment there. But I just wanted to discuss one thing that he said because I think, I want to give a different perspective just on this one thing. So have a listen to this, and then let me open up this discussion a little bit more.
Now, some people are getting upset because the Holy Father has said to them that even though they may continue having the Latin Mass, they have to celebrate the Chrism Mass with their bishop. Well, I mean, poor baby. Are those big tears? Yeah, you want a Kleenex? You want a Kleenex? Come on. I can give you my hanky. It's only been used 15 times. You can have it. Will you man up? Woman up? We all have responsibility for this. We have to get in behind the Pope. We have to hold the ship steady. Come on, steady.
So I just want to discuss something in this video, and I do encourage people to go and look at all of Father Brendan Kilcoyne's video, because I would hate to take something that he's saying out of context of all that video. So please, there's a link below. Go and listen to all of his video on this. But when he was talking about going and to the Chrism Mass with your bishop and, having respect for venerable authority and so forth. Yes, I totally understand. I totally understand, Father Brendan. I understand you 100%. We have to be one church. We have to be united. We have to make stronger this beautiful mystical body which is the church. But Father, in case you haven't missed it, there's a whole video about the Chrism Mass that was hijacked by the Catholic Priest Association in Ballina, County Mayo, led by Bishop Fleming. There's a whole video that I've done on this. Explain to me, can somebody please explain to me, how could I, for example, go and talk to priests of the Society of St. Pius X, which I know and love? How could I go and say, please come along to the Chrism Mass with the bishop, after, when they see the charade that is being done at Mass? The Mass is being politicized. If we had stuck for the last 50 years to say the black and do the red at Mass, maintained some order in the church, there might be some dialogue. But let's face it, Father, this project has gone so far left sometimes. It's gone so far off the rails, the Novus Ordo. How can you expect some priests to give their support, to lend their support to the Novus Ordo? And you were talking about obedience, venerable obedience. It's time, people, and this book is free for clergy in the church. It's time that priests and religious understood what the true obedience in the church is. True obedience. Our obedience should lead to an increase of faith, hope, and charity in the church. Should lead to an increase in faith. I mean, people that have spent 10 years or 7 years in a seminary, who have spent their whole life in their church, anything that your bishop is asking you to obey should be there to increase the faith. And what we have seen done under the name of obedience in the church has done the opposite. This destruction of the Eucharist, destruction of the sacred, removing tabernacles, high altars and all this. And we can go on and on and on. I mean, I do love Father Brendan's videos, but I do have to jump in there, because when you spoke about the Chrism Mass, I don't think you're aware of the problems here in Ireland. I honestly don't think you're aware. Because I went to a priest phoned me up and told, I wouldn't have gone to that Chrism mass, but a priest phoned me up and told me to go to that mass, somebody told me, and they knew that I would blog about it, because the mass was hijacked, completely hijacked, for the installation of lay people instead of priests, really. And I've recorded other talks where the future is to be that the church, that there where's the future for priests here. And this is the Association of Catholic Priests. So, how can we support that? How can you ask traditionalists to support the destruction of the faith, the destruction of the ministry of the priests in the church? And I could be totally wrong here. I'm open to correction. I'm really open to correction. I am just somebody who loves my faith, but I'm just conveying the problems that we are facing. And people will remember, it was Archbishop Lefebvre was asked to say just one Novus Ordo. They went from Rome to Econ, and they asked Lefebvre, just say one Novus Ordo and everything will be fine and you can continue. And he refused out of principle. There was a time when Catholics were supposed to stand up for their principles, especially when it came to the faith. There was so many Christians, so many Catholics that died as martyrs for refusing to compromise on the Eucharist, on the Mass, and on their faith. So many Catholics that died for refusing to stand on the cross. In Japan, for example, if you've seen that movie, The Silence, how many Catholics refused to compromise? Were they wrong? We hold them up as martyrs, as saints. Were they wrong? Was Archbishop wrong not to compromise? Given what we've seen today, given what we've seen the Novus Ordo ultimately become, and you have seen it in Germany. We have seen the Mass weaponized for the ideologies of this world. The Mass should be the Mass. It should have been say the black and do the red. And I'm absolutely sure in 1971, when the Novus Ordo was implemented, had the church stuck to saying the black and doing the red, who knows where we would be today. But it didn't. It was innovation after innovation. And look where we have ended up in the church today. And so to ask traditional priests to row in behind the Novus Ordo, I do understand, yes, okay, go to the Novus, be there present at the Mass with the bishop. And there's some merit to what you're saying. In the East, you do have concelebration with the priests. And I can understand all of this. But we can also see what has happened. And do you understand how hard it is to defend what's going on? It's really hard. It's very hard to defend what's gone on in with the Novus Ordo in Ireland. And I go to both masses. And it's hard to defend the destruction of the sacred. It's hard to defend the destruction of the priesthood. It's hard to defend how badly formed priests were in Maynooth. I don't blog about it here, the problems of Maynooth and the problems of priests around Ireland, because there's enough of that there already. But the problems are there. The problems are there. What are we doing? And the Pope is coming down hard on people being rigid. Sometimes having good structures in a seminary, having good structures in your apostolate, having good structures in a community helps people. It structures people. And that's just my thoughts. And I give them in good faith because I see both sides. But I would find it very hard. I think it's very hard for traditionalists at the moment. Yes, there are many voices, as you said in your video, criticizing the Pope, and sometimes I confess I might be one of those. And we have to be very careful. We have to bring this beautiful faith forward as a church, but we need dialogue, and there's not that much there at the moment. And sometimes traditionalists are just kept to one side. And last year didn't help at all with Traditionis Custodes and the letter that was issued. Where it seems like we are heading back to the 1970s in a very real way, where what space is there for anyone who loves the Mass, the traditional Latin Mass? And if you've seen on my channel, it's not just people who love the traditional Latin Mass. There's a lot of people who like it for other reasons. Maybe they're autistic. If you look at my video with Father Matthew Schneider, there are some people that like the silence and the reverence and the beauty of the traditional Latin Mass. It's not, don't all lump us into the same boat. But I would find it very hard to convince a priest in the Society of St. Pius X to go to a Chrism Mass, given what went on in Ballina, organised by the likes of Brendan Hoban, the Association of Catholic Priests, the weaponising of the Mass for their liberal means. And to be there, to physically be there, is to lend your support to that. How can you lend your support to the destruction of, Archbishop Lefebvre set up the society to help preserve the priesthood as he was formed? No, that was his intention. And we see the Association of Catholic Priests destroying the priests. You will see the videos there where Father Brendan Hoban says, I would prefer not to have traditional priests in the church. They're like the priests that I knew that we had years ago. What was wrong with the priests we had years ago? What was wrong with the priests we had in the 1800s and the early 1900s? Were they all bad? Because the priests I knew, the priests I heard spoke about, were amazing men. And my family would remember parish priests coming with shoes that he would organize donations, and he would buy shoes for the kids. What was wrong with these priests, these so-called traditional priests that Father Brendan Home? Could be wrong. Anyway, I give this video in good spirit. It's not a criticism. It's just to show that it's not easy at the moment, and we need help. God bless. Take care. Bye bye.
If then when the doors are shut thou drawest near, only reveal those hands, that side of thine. We know today what wounds are. Have no fear. Show us thy scars. We know the countersign. The other gods were strong, but thou wast weak. They rode, but thou didst stumble to a throne. But to our wounds, only God's wounds can speak.